Mr. Meadows.
Mr. Secretary, over here. There seems to be some indication that there were nefarious purposes for including this particular question on the census. Do you believe that President Bill Clinton had nefarious purposes in mind when he included a citizenship question on the 2000 census?
I have no ability to read President Clinton's mind, but I have no reason to believe that he had nefarious purposes in including the question.
Do you have any knowledge of any other Democrat president who had nefarious purposes in mind when they included the census question on the citizenship question on previous censuses?
Well, I'm sure there were, but I have not approached this as a partisan matter, so I haven't tried to differentiate whether there's a Democratic president or a Republican president.
So you're saying that you're approaching this just from a census point of view to get an accurate count for the United States of America. Is that your sworn testimony?
Yes, sir. As explained in the decision memo of March 26, 2018, it is also to comply with the request by the Department of Justice that we add the citizenship question so that they could have block-level census data.
So let me go a little bit further. Is if your team, who I would assume that this one question is not the highest priority of making sure that we have an accurate delivery of the system census, is that correct?
Well, we have worked very hard to make sure that this is the best census that we can possibly deliver. I explained earlier in my prepared remarks that we have added $3.2 billion to the budget, and we got the concurrence of the OMB and ultimately the Congress to add that to the life cycle cost. If I had a nefarious purpose, I surely wouldn't have added $3.2 billion to the budget for the census. And specific things that we've done to try to improve it. We are using far more administrative records than has ever been the case before. I mentioned briefly that we're adding many records from the state and local levels about children. We now have access for the first time ever to the WIC records, the SNAP records, and the TANF records from many constituencies. And I made many calls to the governors to try to get them to agree to give us those documents. We also have far more census complete count committees with state and local governments than ever before. Further, we are hiring far more partnership specialists than had ever been the case before. Partnerships are important because they are trusted local institutions from within the community who will be cooperating with us and encouraging people to understand why it's important to complete the census and that their privacy will be maintained. Our advertising program will emphasize both themes, and we will have advertising available in multiple languages. We also will have census documents available in 12 languages versus the 5 other than English that were available before. And we have done many more things, a couple of which that occur readily to mind. We have provided for those who wish to do so the ability to respond to the census by internet. They're not required to fill out forms. They're not required to do anything of that sort. They still can fill out forms if they want. They still can respond by telephone if they want, but they're not required to do so.
So let me
any other steps. I'm sorry, sir.
So let
Gentleman's time has expired.
yeah
Gentleman's time has expired.
Mr. Chairman, you had 10 minutes. I'm the opening question.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold up. Remember, I had an extra 5 minutes that I had reserved, and I used it. So I used 10 minutes.
And you had a 9-minute opening statement and a 10-minute opening question round.
No.
You can give all he was asking for is one more question.
One question.
So, Mr. Secretary, to be clear, is it correct that you have taken extraordinary measures to not only count the number of people accurately, but to expand the way that we do that is unparalleled in the history of the census?
That is correct, sir. We have increased the ways that they can respond. We have increased the advertising budget for response. We have increased the community outreach. We have increased the census committees in states. We have done all kinds of things that we could think of to make sure that we have the best census possible.
I appreciate the chairman's courtesy.